All right, thank you. For those of you who don't know me, I'm Keely Munro. I'm the WA branch president for the RACI, and I'd like to thank you all for joining us this evening. We have quite a bit to go through this evening, so we will try to move through things as quickly as possible. But we will be doing firstly the AGM, then followed by our national awards, and then finally we will have the Chemaraderie, which we will have Professor George Koutsantonis, who will be presenting us for us today. I do have some apologies that I'd like to just announce. So we received apologies for the AGM from Neil Robinson, from Elodie Rousset, from Terry Humphreys, Christopher Boyd, Joel Mayer, and Victor Olet. So I'd like to first acknowledge the traditional custodians of the land on which we meet today, the Whadjuk Noongar people, and pay my respects to their elders past, present and emerging. I'd also like to extend that respect to any Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander peoples here today. So firstly, we do have, and hopefully you've picked up the copies or had a look, but we had the minutes of last year's AGM. They were circulating and they're at the back on the table as well if anybody did want to take a look. But I just want to firstly ask that these be accepted into the record. Can I have somebody that accepts them, please? Yes, so that was Rod. And then a seconder, Paula Maclay. Thank you very much. If anybody does want a paper copy of this afterwards, feel free to reach out to our branch coordinator. The details are on here, and you can also get those details from me at the end of the evening if you so wish to have a copy. So just to go through this year's AGM, we do have some of the statistics there on the screen. So we're up to 373 active members, and they're broken down, as you can see there on the screen. I'll be going through just quickly who we have had on the committee for the last year, and then some of the events that we've run, and then we'll go through all of the branches, the other groups throughout the slideshow, and I'll be asking different people to come up and present on their relative groups or their activities. So just to begin with, this was our group for the last year. So myself and then Matt Boone, who's in the room, he's waving at the back there. For any of you that don't know him, he's the president-elect. His term will take place next year. Past President Tamsin Collins is also here today. There she is over on the side. We have the Secretary, Peter Anstis, who's here at the front. Thank you. And Treasurer Vicky Barnett, who's there at the back. In terms of the group chairs, we have had Alistair Day look after the analytical chemistry group. He did step down ahead of the AGM, and we had Neil Robinson who stepped in and who is the next term's group chair. Nathan Curnow, who's in the room, he's sitting down the back there. Nathan runs our chemical and education group. We've got Alexandra Jung there on the side. And Alexandra runs our Women in Chemistry group. We've got Varshini Kumar here near the front, and Varshini is also the group chair of our early career chemistry group, and then Stuart Day, who jumped in to chair our new industry group that we formed this year. Other committee members include Paula Maclay. Paula's down there at the back. Paula looks after the newsletter for us. And then we have Terry Humphreys, who couldn't make it this evening. He generally runs our Chemaraderie series. Elodie Rousset, another apology for this evening. Elodie looks after our social media. And then Ferdy Ferrand, who's here in the room as well, just here at the front. And Ferdy leads the retirement series for us as well. So the highlights of 2023, firstly, really proud, and it was a team effort between Tamsin first getting the ball rolling and then getting some others on board. But we've successfully, sorry, I'm jumping ahead to the next line. Sorry, I was talking about the industry group, and we did have our inaugural event that was held at CSBP. But I just brushed past a really exciting one. We do have the successful bid for the 2026 Congress. 2026 Congress to be held here in Perth. And that was spearheaded by Vicky Barnett, Ferdy Ferrant, and Peter Anstis. They got the bids rolling, and then when we were successfully appointed, we did then have a new group that's responsible for running the Congress. So I'll announce that a little bit later in the presentation as well. Some other highlights included the Women in Chemistry group. They had a wine and cheese soiree that had a record number of attendees that we've ever had for an event here in WA, which is really exciting. The Chemical Education group had a record 92 teams that were registered and entered into the titration competition, another record for this year. We had Dave Summit come over from the National Mentoring Group, and he held a group in conjunction with the Early Career Chemistry group. And then we had some successful lab tours of Intertech and ALS this year. We had a really great Chemaraderies series, which will be talked about a little bit later. The Science Week Dinner and Awards, where we recognized 2 50-year members, as well as many other 25 and 40-year members, as well as awarding the Will Fewers Award to Dr. Terry Humphreys. And we did have a visit from the new CEO and the president of the RICI, and we were able to enjoy some time and travels around WA to visit some interesting spots, including Chem Centre there on the left. Pictures there just from some of the events that we held. And I'd just like to thank some of the sponsors that we've had throughout the year for the WA branch. Firstly, thank you to Reg Rowe and Rowe Scientific. Without their support, we couldn't continue with a lot of the branch activities, in addition to Curtin University and UWA. And we did have wonderful support from RAISE and CDM Australia for last month's Camaraderie. If anybody in their business would like to sponsor any of our Chemaraderie series for next year, feel free to get in contact with me into the new year. So the RACI WA branch for 2024, it looks very similar with a few changes. So Vicky Barnett is stepping down as the treasurer. She has some travel this year, but she will be continuing on as a group committee member. And Paula McClay is stepping in as the new treasurer for the next couple of years. In addition to that, we've had Marcus Korb, who's here in the room. He's joining us. He's going to be coming in as one of our committee members, but otherwise everything will remain the same in terms of who sits on the WA branch committee. So the proposed program for next year, we're planning to run 8 or 9 Chemaraderies once again. The Science Week dinner that we do every August will be going ahead as planned. The Curtin and UWA student prizes that the RICI sponsors, we'll be awarding those once again. And quarterly retiree lunches will continue with Ferdy. The monthly newsletters, Paula will continue to run with those. And we do plan to launch a quiz night into the new year. And that leads into Peter Anstis, who will be talking about the Analytical Chemistry Group. Thank you.
Hi everyone. Our new chairman Neil's gallivanting around the world somewhere, so he's subbed me in to fill in for him. So he's taken over from Alastair. We're trying to figure out when Alastair started as the chairman. I became secretary in 2006 and Alastair was chairman then, so sometime before that, so it's a really long time. But fortunately we got Neil to take over, and if any of you read Keely's little article about Neil a couple of bulletins ago, or newsletters ago, Neil's a research fellow at UWA, and he recently won the RACI Early Career Travel Bursary to attend the 2nd Commonwealth Chemistry Congress in Trinidad and Tobago, so he's a lucky fellow. We didn't actually do much last year because we tried to do a couple of other things in addition to our normal Hackers Golf Day. They didn't quite work out. So the LIMS seminar is a carryover from last year. We're going to try another seminar and have the Hackers Day and fit in a lab tour. So that's the current committee, and happy to have anyone come and join us if you want to join the committee. Other than that, that's it.
Next up, Nathan Curnow.
Hi everyone. Obviously really excited to have you all here and to be able to just give you a bit of a briefing on what we've been doing as a chemical education group. So you'll see our current committee listed here, and a thank you to those of them, particularly those who are in the room. I'd ask you all to stand up, but I feel that's not very inclusive for someone. You can see we've been doing a lot. The chemical education group's really as active as possible. So we obviously have the Bayliss Youth Lecture, and we had it from Professor Mauro Masserino this year, and thank you to Reg, who was a sponsor, and Rowe Scientific. We had our titration competition, which 92 teams, which was fantastic. 16 went to the finals. Nationally, we had a 6th, an 8th, a 31st and a 39th place. And our top teacher in the country with a deviation of 1 was actually in our chemical education group. And we also had 3 other places in the teacher competition who were from a regional school, which is fantastic. We're absolutely stoked with that. The crystal growing competition is something that we've been working on as well. We wanted to increase participation from schools, and we actually sent 5 crystals off for national judging, which is fantastic. And we increased our presence with teachers, who are the people we want to be encouraging to get their kids involved. And so we've had, especially thanks to Dr. Vicky Barnett at the back, we've had a presence at Future Science for a number of years, and this year we also joined the Science Teacher Association WA conference as a chance to get in and talk to more teachers, and we found out that that was a really effective way to boost their participation. In 2024, you'll see a few changes. We've got a returning member or 2 to our committee, which is fantastic, and we've got some extra additions, so I'm very excited to have them on board. There has been a recent announcement that for 2024 there will be a pause on some of the educational outreach that's coming from National Office. Proposed events are still going to go ahead, so we're looking at running something locally for the titration competition, and we want to continue the Bayliss Youth Lecture, and we're going to have some discussions about what that looks like for us here in WA, while National Office is working on streamlining some of the stuff it's doing in education and outreach. And I encourage you, come and have a chat to me, come and talk to me if you've got ideas of things we can be doing, or if you'd like to sort of give any feedback or similar. We're always happy to hear, and I'm very approachable, mostly. Ask Paula. Okay, I'm going to hand over. Thanks, everyone.
Right. Hi everyone, my name's Alex and I'm the chair of the Women in Chemistry group. So what I've put up here are some of the photos from our events that we've organised this year. So the top ones are from the Global Women's Breakfast, which was held in Feb. And then these ones down here are from our wine and cheese and wine soiree, which was held in June this year, which we wanted to be a family-friendly event. So here are my kids, where I created like a craft bit down the front so we could watch them while they watched the cheese making exercise. But basically in terms of the committee, here are the members listed. So there's good representation from different universities as well as like Chem Centre, but we're trying to get a few more industry people. So if you're wanting to join a different type of group, feel free to let me know, and we welcome any new members to the Women in Chemistry group. In terms of the group highlights, we had a Global Women's Breakfast in February, which was held at Little Way in Nedlands, which was a different type of event that we normally would do. So it was more of a relaxed, in the garden type breakfast. We had 41 attendees, and we were one of 390 breakfasts held on that day in the world, which was very exciting. In June, we had our cheese and wine soiree, which was held at the University of Western Australia. And we had an awesome, lots of interest. So we had 76 registrants, including 12 kids, which was pretty good. And most of those did actually turn up on the night, which was amazing. So it was very, very exciting, but a little overwhelming as well because we weren't expecting that many people. But it was an awesome night and heaps of fun. And we have one event that has just been set up, which will be held on the 4th of December. So it's a professional learning event where we've got the Future Work Institute, which is based in the city, to run or facilitate a workshop for us, which is on positive work and well-being at work. And it's focused on women working in STEM. So have a look out for the announcements. So Hannah will be sending out the announcement soon. You can already register. If you're on our email list, you would have got an email from me this afternoon. So that's just been announced. And we're lucky that we have lots of we've got sponsorship from Microanalysis, Curtin, UWA, PYC Therapeutics, and Pawsey Supercomputing Centre. So that was amazing with that. So that should be a really good event. In terms of the group, we are losing one member. So Georgina decided to step down due to other commitments, but we have a new member stepping in, Emily Barker. So that's really good. In terms of our proposed events, we've got our annual Global Women's Breakfast, which will be held on the 27th of February. So save the date for that. We're still in the process of organising venue and things like that, but that should be coming out very soon. Another proposed event is, again, a social event. So we like having our social event too to try and encourage broader participation. And for that event, my idea is to have so basically there's a PhD student working at Curtin with Professor Stephen Van Leeuwen, who is a well-respected Indigenous, leader in the field. And she's just won one of the Curtin Innovation Awards for her work in trying to develop a natural dye. Yeah. So she's using the marri sap from the marri tree and trying to work out how to get the colour from the marri sap and get it to dye like fabrics and things like that. So the idea would be to have a chemistry of natural dyes with a bit of art and culture thrown in. So that's our proposed event for June, for the social event. Another thing to note is also Professor Stephen Van Leeuwen. He's also quite regarded because he's also the director of the Australian Research Council Training Centre for Healing Country, where they basically try and do ecological restoration that is led and delivered by Indigenous peoples. All right, so that I think is a really good thing. So that should be very exciting. And then we have our professional learning event, which is hopefully something that we run during Mental Health Week and along the lines of mental health during Mental Health Week, focusing on women in STEM or any other things like that. And that's basically it from me.
Hi everyone, good evening. I'm Lashni Kumar. I'm the chair of Early Career Chemist Group, and I'll be presenting the activities that we had in the year 2023 and our proposed activities in 2024. So the Early Career Chemist Group was formed in 2020 to bring out a community for the early career chemist in WA, to have like a group to enhance their career opportunities and do professional development events and like connect the youth or the young community of WA. So in 2023, our committee members were Dr. Elodie Rousset, she was the secretary, Dr. Marcus Cobb as the treasurer, and we had Dr. Soren Bog and Dr. Matthew Poon as the general committee members. We were lucky enough to have a lot of events in 2023, a combination of both professional development as well as social event. So we started off with the lab tour with ALS, geochemistry, and with Intertech. So we had few students who have just finished their honors coming along for the lab tour, and the lab tour was organized by the the chemist at ALS Geochemistry, where they took the students around and showed them what are the facilities out there and what are the career opportunities that ALS has for the students. And then we had a similar event. We had 2 lab tours with ALS and 1 lab tour with Intertech. And then in May, we had a professional development workshop with Dave Summit. So we were lucky enough to have him in Perth, and we thought it would be a best time to organize a professional development event because he's the lead of the RACI career and mentoring program. So we had a very concise, like a close group of 20 students from Curtin and University of Western Australia. So we had Dave explaining about how to polish your resume or how to be prepared for an interview. So this event happened in May. So that's the picture from the professional development workshop. And then in July, we had our meet and greet social event in Nedlands. So we made like more like a pool table where people could come around and then have like a chat to us about the activities of Early Career Chemist Group. And that event was quite a big success. And then we had the 2023 RACI Annual Careers Night in August. So this was the a very successful annual event run by RACI WA branch, which was taken by the Early Career Chemist from last year. And this year's event was in University of Western Australia. We had around 14 industries coming around from mining and as well as from oil and natural gas. And we are very glad, and I would like to mention the sponsors for the event, which was ALS, Chem Center, John Morris, SGS, Vital Trace, PYC Therapeutics, Intertech, Bureau Veritas, Eurofin, Evolve Scientific, Microanalysis, Fortescue Future Industries, Malvern Panalytical, and we also had the RACI Career and Mentoring Program supporting us for the event. We had around like 80 attendees, and it was quite a successful event where people were able to chat with the industry and find out what are the opportunities out there. So this was in August, and then we're going to have our social as well as a professional development event coming along next week, 22nd of November. So this will be in the Tattershall Bowling Club. So we have like a social lawn bowling event. So that will be led by Keely. So she'll be giving them advice about professional development, and the students will be, or the participants will be coming up with an elevator pitch. So they can have like a bit of a chat with Keely and get to know more about how to build your resume or how to be more professionally equipped for being career ready. So that's the event that we have on 22nd of November. So if you're free, it would be great to have you around there as well. And our 2024 committee has a few additions. So we have managed, so secretary and the treasurer are just the same, but we have more general committee members this year. So we have representatives from each university. So we have Dr. Samuel Sala from Murdoch University, Jacob Keller from ECU, and Morgan John from UWA. And we are actively looking for a participant or an early career chemist representative from Curtin. So if you are interested, please do let us know. We'll be more than happy to include you in the committee. And our proposed program for 2024 includes a professional development event in March. And we're still planning on the format of the event, but we'll keep you updated through our social media. And then we have a meet and greet event in August and the 2024 Careers Night in August as well. And then we are planning for a professional development event in October and a quiz night in December. So these are the proposed events. We are currently discussing on how to build these events. So please connect with us on social media. We'll keep updating the details there. Thank you. Let's do it.
Well, good evening, everybody. My name's Stuart Day. I joined in 1970, which makes me probably one of the longest serving members. And in that period, when I joined, there was a very strong industry group. Now, most chemists were employed in industry, about 80%, and so chemists were everywhere. Don Watts was the president, and he was very, very encouraging. And so we had a very, very interesting period where we visited many industrial facilities and many chemists. To give you some example of what's happened, the power industry, where I worked for nearly 40 years, employed 20 to 30 chemists and chemical engineers. Now I believe there is 1.5 left. So there's been a sad, let's say, reduction in chemists, but fortunately I think that is going to change. So this is a fairly new group, very new group, and so we haven't had much in the way of activities, but we did have a very successful industrial meeting at CSBP. Now, where are we? Now, in CSBP, which were very generous, they took us through the ammonium nitrate plant and the sodium cyanide plant, and we all recovered. We didn't get any industrial accidents, fortunately, but we did see the sodium cyanide being produced, and we also were all taken to the top of the ammonium nitrate prilling tower. Now, what do we have for, how do we get on to the next? Right, so let's go to, so this is at 2023, and so that's over, and we didn't have many other activities. But 2024, I have approached the lithium processing plant, which actually is now producing. And remember, there are now 3 of them, and they're not cheap. Each particular plant's probably a $2 billion investment, but they are basically chemistry. Very important, because fortunately now chemistry is becoming very sort of fundamental, especially as we get rid of our carbon dependency. Now, each one of these plants is actually now either producing or in the process of being constructed. And CSBP are building one, which we saw. That won't be ready to see and visit. So hopefully that will be our first one. So Tanqui is actually taking spodumene, which is actually a component of granite. It's actually a lithium aluminium silicate and making it into lithium hydroxide. That should be quite interesting. We have a social activity, and that'll be our first social activity, and I'd like you all to attend. It would be very nice to get together. But we're also going to have some panel discussions. Aluminium, which of course is central to West Australian industry. We have 3 alumina plants, and quite a few people, of course, chemists have worked in these plants. But it's now undergoing some tremendous advancement, and that'll be a nice discussion. And then industrial waste, which will be quite an interesting discussion. So that's for next year. Now, I'd like to thank Tamsin, who encouraged me to join, and also we'd like, because we're very new, we'd like as many members as possible. Just a word about myself. I did actually study chemistry, and I really thought chemistry was the be-all and end-all. It is life. Now, unfortunately, my only advice would be that you have to actually spread your wings. I ended up by starting on the laboratory, and I didn't end up in laboratory. I started in the laboratory. I ended up by running very large power stations employing 600 and 700 people. So you can aspire to anything as a chemist. You have the rigour, and you also have the knowledge, and so that's where you can end up. So that's about the encouragement I can give. And I'm now somewhat emeritus. I'm now 77, so it's a fairly, let's say, a late stage to get involved again, but I believe chemistry is life. Thank you.
So I'll give this on behalf of Terry Humphreys. So we were able to have 8 great camaraderies this year. We started off in February with Dr. Jacob Martin, followed in March, Dr. Jacob Martin is from Curtin University. In March, we had the student prize winners from the 2022 National Congress. So we were fortunate to have 2 that were able to present to us. In May, we had Melissa Narby, who talked about mineralogy made easy. June was Professor Daniel Southam, who spoke of the power of dialogue in learning chemistry. July, we had Dr. James Rickson, who spoke about EpiChem, which excitingly is back and running again, if you haven't heard the news. So we had in September Sandy Lamb from Microanalysis, who stepped in last minute to support us, which was fantastic. And she talked about microanalysis from the micro to the macro. In October, we had an exciting industry panel, Why Choose Industry? And we've got Zeeling that's here in the room tonight. She was part of that. And then we had other partners from Alcoa, from Ray's Zeeling. We also had Adam Martin from PYC, and we had Sharon from Alcoa. So that was brilliant. And then in CSBP representative. I must have said Sharon twice there, and we also had CSBP. And then in November, today, we've got Professor George Koutsantonis, who will be talking to us a little bit later in the program. Ferdy.
About 4.5 years ago, we decided that we do something for the retirees. And the thing is that retirees have been paying membership for 20, 30, 40, 50 plus years. So there was nothing going for them, so we decided to get something going. Usually it's just a socialising, having nice lunches, and we can talk about anything. The language is uncut, and we have a great time. We start off with the first one at the Mount Henry Tavern, where everybody lines up and they get a $12 lunch or something. Then we graduated to the Blue Water Bistros in Applecross, and most of the time we are given the private room where we dine in comfort and luxuries. And then we graduated again to Fraser Restaurant. So the next one, we don't know where we end up. So our members at the moment is about 30 people. We have an average attendees of about 15 to 20 people, but we'd like this group to be a larger group if we can. The reason why we strive for that is we give something to the elderly people, not elderly, but senior citizens to amalgamate and talk about their livelihood and talk about the experience we had for 50 years and all that sort of thing. It's all good fun. So I'd like to increase this group to about 30, 40 people. So anybody would like to join, please come and see me or whatever. Thank you.
The newsletter report I'm going to give on behalf of Paula. So we had 11 monthly issues this year. Really great that we were able to promote the upcoming WA chemistry events, reviews on recent WA events, items on WA chemical companies, awards and people, and national RACI promotions such as mentoring events and conferences. So thank you very much to Paula, who puts a lot of time and effort into these for us on a monthly basis. Elodie couldn't make it this evening either, but she has relaunched all of our socials this year, which is really exciting. So please make sure that you are following. We do have QR codes at the back, so please do scan those before you leave if you could follow us on some of the socials. So anything that you would like posted, you can use this email address. Myself and Peter Anstis monitor this email. You can send us anything you like, or you can tag us into it, and then we can share or like from there. So she's been very good and diligent at getting us set up. So she has set up RACI WA branch. Unfortunately, we lost our old handle, the RACI_WA. So we are now at RACI_in_WA. Can't talk. So that's really exciting. She's also got us up and running on Facebook and LinkedIn. She's worked on Analytical Chemistry Group. They so far have their Twitter. Women in Chemistry Group has set up either by her or others in some different areas there too. WA Industry Group and Early Careers Chemist Group. We still have chemical education to go, but we're getting there in terms of our socials. And this is out and around, so you can scan any of those codes to follow. All right, the Treasurer's Report. Vicky.
Okay, I do have some notes on my phone that I may or may not look at. So, in a nutshell, we've done very well again this year, and I think we've done better this year than last year, so we should be very proud of ourselves. What I've done is I've focused on the financial year, so that's what's being reported here, because the budget goes by the financial year, but most of our activities go from when the new committees are formed, so it's not the financial year, so it doesn't always add up, and the numbers don't always make sense as you're going, but at the end, when you see a complete picture of June 2022 through to, July 2022 through to June 2023, you can see that we've done well in a financial year. So for the previous financial year, the branch made a surplus of very healthy, 65%. We're not a for-profit organisation, and the branch is only one small bit of the whole RACI. But we can be proud of ourselves. We are not in the one that you don't want to be in. So I'm a chemist. I'm not a financial wizard. Okay. What we can do is we can start looking at where we're heading towards, and we can see that so far for the 2023-24 financial year, we're not looking anywhere near as healthy. But we're only not even halfway through that financial year, and we're on track to being healthy. So it's really good. I've got a bit of a breakdown of the contributions to our branch's financial health that we're experiencing at the moment. And you can see that some of the branch events have given us really good revenue, and we're not negative, so that's exciting. RACI aspires for everyone to be in a surplus of at least 15% to just keep everything afloat. It's not to make profit or anything, but just keep everything able to be run. So we're above the 15% for sure. A lot of this is coming from the Chemaraderies and the science dinner, and a few other odds and ends. Our advertising. They're the three main contributors towards the branch's financial health. Also, the analytical group, look, this doesn't look really good, I'm sorry. That's the stats that are coming out when you look at it from a financial year perspective. But that's just unfortunate timing, because one of their biggest events happens kind of at the end of the year, but all the financials are at a different time. And so this is an aberration, and it's not of concern. In fact, today I received the October reports from National Office, and the analytical group have received funding this month for hackathon. It's the hackathon? Hackers Golf, which is a great event. I do it every year, and I really do plug this event. I'm not going to do it this year because I've had knee surgery and I can't trust myself to swing a golf stick with restraint. So that's healthy. It just doesn't look healthy because of the way the financial year is structured compared to the actual reality of the events. ChemEd Group did an outstanding job this year, bringing in about $6,000. There is a little bit of fluffiness, like the branch was charged for some alum for the crystal growing competition, but we're talking about $300. So if you take $300 away from this, the ChemEd Group still has come ahead. And this is largely due to the crystal growing competition. we had an unprecedented amount, and that was our biggest revenue maker this year, and I think that was because of the Constawa advertising. And of course, second to that was the titration competition. So these are really great events. It's a shame that the national office is not holding them next year, but they do have a purpose in the long run. So we're going to try and do it locally for this year, and we're going to be able to pull it off with this kind of history. The Chemed group is amazing. They'll do it. Women in Chemistry group doing a fabulous job as well. So a lot of that was the global breaking, of course, but also the cheese and wine, which I unfortunately couldn't go to either. So very depressed about that, but done a great job. Early Careers Chemist group is very similar, on par, doing a fabulous job. And it's not that they're making money, it's just that they're being very sensible with the sponsorship, the expenses and the income coming in, that we're getting a healthy surplus. So great with all the career professional development events and the social events. The industry group is taking off. So they've just started having events. So this is awesome, and it's going to be awesome next year, I think. So by 2 years' time, they're going to look more like these guys. So fabulous. The newer groups are really taking off. So I think with the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 active groups within the branch, we're doing really well, and that's going to continue because of the awesome people that keep it continuing. And that's my budget report. Oh, and this is a breakdown of stuff, and I've got a spreadsheet that's got an even bigger breakdown of stuff. And this is highlighted just to show you that I'm focusing on the financial year. So this is the history back here and the latter half of last year. Here is where we're heading towards now, and by June next year it's going to look as good as that yellow one, I hope. There. Oh, didn't look at them. Hopefully I didn't forget anything.
Thanks, Vicky. All right, and just to save the date, everyone, the National Congress that I mentioned that we won the bid for will be going ahead the 6th to 10th of July in 2026, so mark your calendars. These are the co-chairs that we have secured. It's Dr. Iyer, Professor Zachary Aman, and Professor Clidy Grice that will be looking after this. This year, for the first time, the national awards didn't go ahead in Melbourne, and so we're very thankful to the national office to provide the catering this evening because they've asked for all local branches to host their own mini award for the recipients that did win from the national awards in 2023. It already has been announced that we do have one of our own in the branch that has been awarded. This is for Dr. Alexandra Jung. So this is the RACI Chemistry Educator of the Year Award in 2023. So this is an early career award to recognise and encourage development in scholarly teaching practice. She has won the award for the reasons that are listed here. She was nominated based off of her work as a senior lecturer at Curtin University. Alexandra's research aims to improve students' understanding and perception of chemistry through active learning and blended learning environments. She led the implementation of electric laboratory notebooks in first-year chemistry at Curtin University, making her a leader in this area. She is a general committee member and has previously served as secretary of the Chemical Education Division. She hopes to inspire students and colleagues to flourish in the field of chemistry education. So I'm very, very pleased to be able to finally deliver her certificate from the Royal Australian Chemical Institute. So please join me in congratulating